Alright, hey everybody, welcome to another chess video, and guess what we're doing today? That's right, we're doing more checkmate puzzles. But before we started, I wanted to just look at a couple of different things, just to add a little spice and variety, not only to the videos for that sweet, sweet YouTube money, which I assure you, 2 views and 1 like a video does not get money for, but to also add a little variety into my learning, into my practice as well. As I progress, hopefully, if I ever progress, I'll probably do more of these kind of other segments. What is it? Specifically focusing on those segments. But for now, since I still have so much room for improvement in this one simple exercise, I'll just do it as like an additional bonus. So the bonus I wanted to look at today were 2 different things. One is it's been a long time since I've been on Chessable, and I was wondering if on Chessable they had that one particular practice book of was it 1001 mating situations or whatever that the father of the whatchamacallit sisters wrote, the Polgar sisters. So their father, a professor and a lover of chess, and he might have been a title player. Yeah, I think he did a whole book of just mating positions, or it might have just been tactics in general. But I don't remember. All I remember it was like 1001. So I'm just going to look for that. Because I bought the book myself, but then I never did it. I never finished. I got to like the 50th puzzle, but then I was just like, oh, it's so much more fun doing it interactively. So then I didn't do it. Is this the right one? 1001. Oh, I think this is it, but I guess it wasn't written by the father. For some reason, I thought it was. I don't know where I got that idea. That's a big mistake. But I think, yeah. I think this is the one. How many other 1001 books are there, you know? Let's take a look. Oh no, there are a lot of 1001 books. But I think this is the one. The cover looks very familiar to me. But I don't remember it being called Deadly Checkmates. But yeah. Oh, here's a Polgar related thing. 5-volume chess puzzle book. Anyway, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to finish this book since I bought it as a book or as a ebook? But what's better than an ebook? Puzzles that I can actually just do. What is it? Interactively. So I was thinking maybe of getting this. But seeing as how it's $25 and I already paid like some amount of money for it when I originally bought the ebook, I don't know if I should get it. I almost feel like, yeah, I'll get it. So I think next time maybe for the series we might just start on the 1001 Deadly Checkmates and see how I do with it. I think that's a pretty good idea. So I'll come back to this. Is there a way to? Okay, I'll just. Nope. That's like a like on Facebook, isn't it? Yeah, I don't want to do that. Can I like add it to my wish list? Oh, okay, okay, excellent. Well, so we'll come back to Chessable at some point. And then the other thing I found interesting is, like always, before I started my mating chess video, I wanted to get a full list of the patterns that we often see. But then I saw on this rando chess site, ChessFox, which I don't think I've ever used before, I saw this list of 36 checkmate patterns that all chess players should know, I thought was interesting. So I was going to go through the list and see how many of them we actually have seen before and understood. So, yeah, before we start on the puzzles, let's just go through this. It's kind of fun. Ooh, get your copy of 7 Skills training model. 7 skills. What's the 7 skills? Let's look at this. Openings, strategy, tactics, evaluation, endgame, calculation, visualization. Interesting. Seems like some arbitrary categorization of the skills necessary in chess. Makes sense to me, probably. I mean, I'm an amateur. What the fuck do I know? It would be interesting at some point if I feel good enough or ready enough to try to list on my own what skills I feel are most important to train, as well as to know in chess to be a better player. But I definitely don't think I'm at that point yet. I mean, I'm still on tactics, and I can barely see most of them. So, long way to go there. But since we're talking about it, let's go through the mating list. So, Anastasia's mate, which is always the one that I get mixed with Greco, is the side mate with the knight. Excellent. Anderson's mate is this one. Did I know it? No, not that one. Arabian mate. This, I think, is one of the first mates in How to Beat Your Dad at Chess, which is another book I would like to actually finish. And you know what? Before we start on 1001 Puzzles, actually, it's probably better if I finish that book, because that book is slim. That book has far fewer puzzles, so it might be a good idea for me to do that one. But, yeah, Arabian Mate. Do I know it? No, not really. I don't think I would have recognized that as Arabian Mate. It's a checkmate pattern that features the unique abilities of the knight with the help of a rook in a corner. Does it have to be in a corner? I mean, probably yes. Any other knight rook mate would I'm thinking of the hook mate, but that probably requires a pawn because the king is going to be in between the rook and the knight. Let's see here. Next one is back rank mate. Everybody should know the back rank mate. It's one of the first things that will get you in trouble, probably. Balestra mate. This is not one that I've heard, but it's the queen and bishop combo. It's almost like and of course it has to be on the edge because without it there would be more flight squares, but the queen controlling almost all of the flight squares and the bishop coming in for that kind of I don't know, diagonal thing going on, reverse dovetail. Okay, interesting note on the Balestra mate. It appears that the name Balestra, performed by queen and bishop, was first used as a tag on chess tempo in order to distinguish it from Boden's mate, which involves 2 bishops. An important observation here is in the case of Balestra mate, the bishop must be the checking piece if the queen has a task to block. Okay, if the queen has a task to block all the squares. Right, it wouldn't work the other way around. Of course. Anyway, interesting. So we've learned something today. Am I going to remember it? No, that seems... no. Blackburn's mate involves 2 bishops and a knight against a castled king. Alright. This is a crazy combo. So one of the flight squares for black is taken by a friendly piece, and then the rest of the flight squares are either controlled by the knight or the bishops. Okay. The pattern is named after Joseph Henry Blackburn, a British chess player who once demonstrated this checkmate in one of his games. Alright. Blind swine mate. That's the 2 rooks and the lack of flight squares for the king. This can definitely happen. if you let rooks onto your second rank. Never let rooks onto your second rank. I don't know how to stop them from doing it, but oh my god. According to the article on Chess Kid, okay, this checkmate pattern got its name from David Janowski, or Janowski, probably Janowski, a Polish grandmaster who referred to a pair of rooks on the 7th rank that could not find a mate as blind swine looking for truffle. Sure. Because if there was one more flight square, the rooks could keep on going into a perpetual, but the king would always have one flight square, one file, of course, that he could move to in between the rooks. Bowden's mate, this is the one that was being compared to the Balestra mate, and this is when you have one bishop controlling some of the flight squares and the perpendicular bishop giving the check. We've looked at it before. I didn't remember from last time. Surely I probably will not remember again. But one day I'll go in there. Not today, though. Corner mate, as the name suggests, is a checkmate pattern against an enemy king that is trapped in the corner. The actual checkmate is often executed by the knight. Oh, interesting. Okay. Huh. Alright. Cool. So this would be an alternative to potentially some kind of Arabian mate going on, I guess. Corridor mate is kind of like when you're doing a lawnmower attack. However, you have multiple major pieces to create a faux edge and kind of checkmate him like a lawnmower. Okay. Diagonal corridor mate. Now I feel like you're just making up names. More examples. Corridor mate. Let's go there. What does that look like? Isn't that just a back rank mate? Because it's trapped along a rank, file, or diagonal. Okay. I see. Quarter mate is actually a broad term for the number of checkmate ideas, one of which is the back rank. So back rank is this specific mating pattern where it's within the rank, but another corridor mate example would be, of course, as we saw earlier, and then this would be another corridor example on a diagonal, you say. What? I mean, no. Not the diagonal. This is not the wrong. This, oh, I see, because he blocks. I getcha. I see, I getcha. Yes, indeed. Okay. Interesting. So the corridor mate is just in general when the king's flight square is also in the trajectory of the attack. Am I going to remember that? No, probably not. No. The Kozios mate, the dovetail mate. We all know the dovetail. I have talked about it forever, calling it all sorts of random names like the arrow or the triangle or whatever. Can't forget that one. Didn't know that name, though. Kozios mate. I think calling it by what seems most familiar to me, the dovetail pattern, is probably the safer way to go. Damiano's mate is checkmate pattern where a queen and a pawn coordinate their efforts. So when a pawn reaches the 6th rank in combination with a queen, it can be quite deadly. I often don't use this, and oftentimes when I end up with pawns on the 6th rank blocked by their pawn, I think, oh, how useless it is. But now I see that if I'm able to push a pawn that's towards the king, there are opportunities that may happen. Especially with a potential like corridor thing going on as well. Good to know. Good to know. Interesting note on Damiano's mate. User KingBishop on chess.com reveals that this checkmate idea was first published by Pedro Damiano. Furthermore, the well-known advice, if you see a good move, try to find a better one, is often attributed to Lasker and other modern chess writers, but according to Wikipedia, this advice is found in Damiano's book, written more than 500 years ago. Well, that's a pretty decent source. I was going to say Wikipedia. Anybody can write anything. But if it was actually in his books, yeah, that's cool. And This is great advice that I never follow. I really should. David and Goliath mate. Is that what this is actually called? Because this just looks like, you know, a pawn mate. I mean, okay. Epaulette. We have looked at this mate before. When the king's flight squares are taken and the queen is one away from it. And then, of course, we've seen the other one before, the swallow's tail. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. And then we have the fool's mate, which is if you want to do something very entertaining, sometime when you're playing chess, is just start with G4 and F3 and see how many people actually win. Because oftentimes people won't take it. They don't know the fool's mate, which is very funny and sad to me at the same time. Because when I am in such a frisky mood, I kind of want to see somebody just hit me with that fool's mate. But oftentimes nobody does, and then you have to play from a shoddy ass position. I rarely am used to this position, so trying to play from it when black has tried to develop seriously is quite challenging and pretty hilarious. But like you guys are into the bomb cloud, yeah, that's cool. But how about playing from Fool's Mate? Which wouldn't happen because black would win every time. So I guess yeah, bomb cloud is probably more playable. Um, and then more examples. It says two move mate, and it says fool's mate again. So is it the same thing? Are you leading me to the same page? Are you leading me to a different page? Where are you leading me? You led me nowhere. Disappointing, Chess Fox. Maybe it's my internet though. Greco's mate. We know this one. When the enemy king is trapped in a corner with the help of a bishop. Very nice, very nice. Very good, very good. The H file mate. Okay. Oh my goodness. Maybe it is my internet. Oh, now we're on the Fool's Mate page. Wait, am I on my work VPN? Oh god. No, I'm not. I'm drinking whiskey and water today. I had some whiskey left over from a thing with a friend, and I gave him the bottle, but I still had some left over. So, decided to get a little drunk today. It's an Oregon-made whiskey, the state where I'm from. Is it good? It's alright. I'm more of a Scotch guy, so anytime I do whiskeys or bourbons, I'm trying to still look for Scotch notes, which is crazy and really rude in some ways, I guess. Or crazy. Just crazy. Like, yeah. Anyway, but it's good. It's good. It's got a little bit of a kick, but I would say I'm lacking a little in the body. Kind of want a little bit of a stronger middle note there. Something nice. All I get is a bit of sweetness and a little bit of, I don't know, a little sweetness and staleness mostly. But that's probably because I've left the whiskey out for too long. So probably my fault more than the whiskey's fault. Anyway, we're looking at the Fool's Mate. It should not be confused with a 4-move checkmate. Also known as a 2-move. Okay, this was just showing us the checkmate. Wait, what is this? Even if the Fool's Mate might never happen in your own games, it is still useful to know the pattern. This is because the basic pattern in the Fool's Mate can be used in other situations. For example, oh, mein Gott. For sure, bud. So Fool's Mate examples 2 is using the king's side weakness, sacrificing the bishop, knight takes, and then queen to h5, and there's nowhere for the king to go and no pieces that can block. This has happened from an interesting position. I don't know what this one's called. But f5 was clearly a mistake. An important note on the Fool's Mate. Fool's Mate is all about the weakness that is created as a result of advancing the f2 pawn or the f7 pawn. Note that in both first and second examples, the checkmate king was disposed of the missing f pawn. This is an important idea to remember. And that's why we say never move the f pawn. Right on. I guess that's a good way to think about it. Fool's Mate, f-pawn. Don't be a fool. Don't move your f-pawn. Except when you're doing a kingside push in the King's Indian. In which case you probably have a knight to take care of that square anyway. The f7 or the f2 square. But moving on. We saw the Greco. We saw the h-file mate, which is very similar to the queen's pawn. Is that what we called it earlier? Some of these names seem so arbitrary. Cha-cha-cha-cha. Where was it? Wait! Anderson's mate looks exactly like the h-pawn. What the fuck? Wait, where did that queen's pawn mate go? Am I crazy? What the shit? Oh, here we was it the Damiano's mate? Oh, I was just getting it confused with the Damiano's mate. That's what it was. Alright, going back to this, which looks very much like the Anderson's mate one that we saw. But, okay, H-file mate. I don't think I'm going to remember that. The hook mate, here we go. We have seen the hook mate before, the combination of the rook and the knight. Defended, of course, with the queen or the king in between. There's no flight squares generally, except for this one that doesn't exist. So it has to be on the edge, probably. Or you have to have another piece. For instance, if this was in the middle, if this pawn had been on the other side, that would have been a great way to hook and mate. Interesting. Very good, very good. The kill box mate. The kill box mate occurs when a queen and a rook work together to checkmate the enemy king in a box. Okay, yeah, for sure. And then we know the lawnmower. So the kill box is really the queen and rook mate. I don't think there's a lot of different options for doing a queen and a rook mate besides the lawnmower and the kill box. Legal's mate. Legal's mate is named after the French player. He commonly used this pattern in his games. How do you end up using the same pattern multiple times? Just because people love taking the queen, I guess. Fair enough, fair enough. It's important to know that the position below was reached after white played knight takes e5, allowing the black bishop to capture white's queen on d1, which can oftentimes happen. And as somebody who plays the Ruy Lopez, there's potentials for me to be able to use this if I wasn't such a coward and losing my queen. But what it requires is for the bishop to be on this diagonal, the A2, the diagonal that points at the F7 pawn, the F pawn basically. So this can be done on black or white. And then for both of the knights to be out so that a checkmate can happen and then a following checkmate with the knight can happen. And I think there, if I remember with the Stafford as well, there's a way you can do that with a knight checkmate or not a knight checkmate, a bishop checkmate, and then the other bishop coming in to do the second checkmate as well. That being said, I never play the Stafford, so I don't know very well. But yes, this I should use more. This is definitely something I should remember. Will I remember it? Probably not. I really, really, really should, though. But I won't. Loli's mate. Loyi? Lolly? This has a very different connotation coming from an anime standpoint. Lolly's mate is a common checkmate pattern performed by cooperation between a queen and a pawn, typically against the castle knight. Okay. I mean, yes. This just looks like the queen using the fianchetto weakness on the king side, castle king side. This can work with a bishop as well, but this is specifically, I guess, for the pawn and the queen combination. Max Lang's mate. Max Lang's mate demonstrates great coordination between the queen and the bishop because the bishop is controlling both of the flight squares on the g file while the queen comes in for the kill. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I forgot how to pronounce this one. Was it Mayet? I don't remember. Or is it mate? No, it wasn't mate. I guess I'll just pronounce it Mayet and sound like an idiot until somebody corrects me. Mayet's mate occurs when a rook is placed right next to the enemy king whilst the rook is supported. The king is further obstructed by his own pieces. Will I remember this one? The Mayet's mate is similar to the opera mate. The difference is very subtle. In one of them, the flight square is being controlled by our piece, and the other, it's being controlled by his own pieces. Do I care? I don't know. I don't know. Morphe's mate is similar to that corner mate with the knight that we were looking at. You will notice a fair amount of confusion about Morphe's mate. There are mainly two reasons for this confusion. Checkmate ever actually happened in the game. Paul Morphy was better known for other checkmate patterns such as the opera mate, which coincidentally also is a rook and bishop checkmate pattern. This one, yeah. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's a quarter mate using the rook and the bishop. Cool, cool, cool. The opera mate, we just talked about it 2 times. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. JK. Pillsbury's mate. We saw this before, but I don't think it was called that. And the other thing we looked at, I don't remember. Railroad mate. Features of the triangle mate and the kill box mate. I guess that's true. You don't necessarily have to have it in a box as much as also just in some kind of coordination with the queen within a triangular slash squarish position, oftentimes. Railroad mate, interesting. Together resemble unstoppable train. Choo choo, motherfucker. I mean, also in this position, you have. Well, actually, yeah, you have the lawnmower as well, right? Because you have rook g5 check, king to h7, or king to h6. King to h6 would be met with queen to g6, or if king to h7, then queen to h3 would be lawnmower. But that would take an extra step. So good to know that the queen plus the rook in a triangle formation is deadly as well. Will I remember? Questionable. Questionable. Ready's mate is kind of like a dovetail, using the bishop and the rook. Very good. Scholar's mate is a very common checkmate pattern among beginners. I have fallen to it many times. Still fall to it sometimes when I'm not paying attention, but very rarely. Of course, we know the smothered mate. We know how it's executed. I've only ever done it twice in real games. That always feels wonderful. And then the suffocation mate, we looked at it before. I almost forgot the name of it. Swallow's tail mate. This is like the if the epaulette is kind of like a flat version, this is the Audi Audi kind of innie and outie kind of belly button mate. But yeah, swallowtail, easy to remember because of the joinery. Cool, cool, cool. Triangle mate, also known as a fishtail mate, resembles a visual appearance of a triangle. The checkmate also demonstrates good coordination between the queen and the rook. The triangle I think they're talking about is the queen, the king, and the rook. Very, very good. It requires one escape square between the queen and the rook to not exist. Or, I mean, to exist. It has to be blocked. So, of course, it could be any other possible piece that blocks it, but interesting. Very interesting. Vukovic mate. I think this is the last one on the Wikipedia page. Pattern demonstrates powerful coordination between rook knight with the help of a supporting piece. So this is very possibly similar to if you weren't able to do the hook mate, maybe you could do the Vukovic mate if the king tries to block any kind of thing. Learn the names of the famous checkmate moves. It is a good idea to learn and memorize the names. Why? Because knowing the names helps embed in your mind what the particular pattern looks like. That is very true. How famous checkmates got their names, similar to diseases. Visual appearance, right? Because of joinery. Conclusion, checkmate patterns. It is a good idea to memorize the names of all the patterns because the names help you remember it better. More checkmates. Go to Lichess, Wikipedia, or chess games. Thanks, Chess Fox. You're the best. Alright, now that we've spent our time looking at another list of checkmates, and of which I will probably not remember, let's do some mating puzzles. And as always, if the games aren't too long, we're going to take a quick couple of steps back, and then we're going to look at the position from here, and then move along with the puzzle. So let's look at this. We have our king in the middle. I don't like it. His king has his king is castled. I'm just trying to figure out this. This is on the queen side, right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy right now? No, this is on the queen side. Okay. Yeah. So how did this king end up here? I'm so confused right now. I don't know how this game went, and I'm really curious, but probably most people don't want to see this game. But you know what? I'm not doing this for the people. I'm doing this for me. What have the people done for me? Nothing. So let's actually take a look at this game because I'm kind of curious how this position ended up. We started with the Sicilian. And then there was some taking. Okay, pretty natural, I think. I never played the Sicilian, so I don't know. I don't know how natural or how close to the main line this is, but this doesn't look that weird. My friend and I were talking about our centi-pawn losses today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I average about 45." Then I looked at my goddamn profile. Yeah. Speaking of really embarrassing things, I really want to show you guys this. Let me open this in a different. Uh, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, average 45 centi-pawn loss. No, nah, dude, not even close. Oh, my centi-pawn loss is atrocious. Which means a couple of things. One, I'm playing horribly, and I don't see tactics when I need to, and I'm just losing in positions, right? But also, as a beginner, nope, that's about it. That's all there is to say, really, is that my centi-pawn loss is probably attributed to me not recognizing tactics and to not recognizing positions that lead to tactics, usually like a second level tactic, right? So, or a third level tactic. Not necessarily something that I can see immediately, but something that I should be aware of like 3 moves from now, which I am not taking into consideration for. So that's that was good to really humble myself today. Okay. So looks like black is maybe going for some kind of hoping for a trade to get some quick development, but white is like, no, no, I'm gonna develop just as quickly as you. Black pushes a pawn. I'm not sure what the pawn push is for. Again, the Sicilian is not something I'm very aware of, so I don't know what b4 stops. I guess b4 stops knight b5, or not b4. I'm sorry. Why did I say b4? I'm crazy. a6. I don't know what a6 stops, but I think it's probably for controlling the b5 square, so that the what is it? So that the knight can't go on to b5. Not because b5 is necessarily that strong, but because d6 is super annoying. If I and this like e5 with knight d6 would be just awful. That ugh, yuck. Hate it. Hate all of it. Okay, goes for the trade. Opening it up. If black if black were to trade this way, white would be I would say white would be up a little bit of a tempo. I mean, there's still this pin, so I could kind of fuck with his pawns. But yeah, probably better not to trade that way at this point. Deploying some, developing some more pieces. Getting the queen out early is interesting. I'm not sure what the idea there is. I guess maybe to guard this bishop without having to play bishop d2 because he probably wants to try and whatchamacallit, try and castle on the king's side early on. Okay, or not. He played bishop d2. Maybe it was just to defend this pawn. I'm not exactly sure about the queen move. Maybe it was just he likes developing his queen early. And then, okay, black decides, hey, the pin doesn't exist. I don't want to trade bishops right now. And then white plays this to control this lovely square, which I feel like is a very good move. And pushing the knight, asking questions. Knight has to move. Decides to trade, forcing a doubling up of pawns and a weak queen side. A lot of this could happen soon. But he pushes the queen or the king side, which could end up with doubled pawns. So yeah, I mean, this would definitely benefit him more than the other way around. But if he takes, then he can undo his pawn thing, develop his knight, or I mean his bishop. So I don't necessarily know how far he wants to take this. Maybe here, take. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Okay, this pawn is weak, so queen is developing, attacking two places at once. Very good. There is bishop or queen to c3. Oh, there's this as well, but that doesn't defend this pawn. Queen does not take the pawn. I'm not sure if I'm missing a possible trap, like queen takes bishop here. No pins though, no x-rays, so I would think just moving away seems pretty decent. Queen's trying to attack on the king's side. That's very good. King's side is looking very weak. Alright, and of course defending this pawn as well. Alright, rook has moved with the default kind of x-ray against the queen idea. Ah, that's a great time to do this push, yes. Because now pawn takes is met with queen takes. And then bishop, and you've lost a rook. Alright, so you just gotta move away. Just gotta move that bishop away. But, you know, this is a pretty good square. You're stopping him from castling on the king's side, but honestly, he's not. He's probably going to go on the queen side. I love white's push with the center control. I think it's been very fruitful. And a free pawn, and this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that is so much good stuff. Alright, so black had to sacrifice a rook for a bishop. Was it worth it? I mean, I don't think he had a choice. I don't think it's beyond worth as much as it's just what he had to do if he didn't want to lose trade even worse than he had. All right. So now we've secured this pawn on the f6. That means this f7 pawn is going to be a weakness at some point. But it's so far in black's area, maybe it won't be that big of an issue. We'll see. Trying to trade down now because he has two major pieces to black's bishop pair, which is quite strong though. So I feel like black has some chances, especially if he gets like, let's say the white squared bishop on e4, right? Like that is a strong presence to have. I think, yeah, that would be great, but I guess we'll see. Okay, pushing black's piece around. There aren't a lot of good squares left for black's dark squared bishop. It's being really kind of bullied out of place everywhere. Trying to double up the rook on the not empty file. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Ah, here we go. Allocating it to an empty file, and look at that. That's nice. The threats are becoming real, especially with this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It hurts. It's like stepping on Legos. All right, move the queen out of the way. What's the queen gonna try to do? This looks juicy. This is unguarded, except by the king. So if there's some kind of combination that could happen, perhaps a bishop to the A file. Ooh la la, wouldn't that be nice? Yes, yes. Other rook comes out, trying to move the queen away, I would hope. And then if you get onto these files, wow, not a lot of room for the queen. All right, trying to get this pin going, I think. Oh, but there's an in-between check. King's gonna have to move away. Still got a safe square. This bishop. This bishop is having such a hard time. Like queen h7 looks pretty detrimental to black's kingside safety there. All right, rook coming in for that. Ooh, a reverse. Oh, okay. Yeah, not a lot of places for the queen to go. Where does the queen go? Ah, goes in for an in-between check. Rook's going to have to come defend. Oh, no. King decides to just move away. That's fair. I didn't even think of that. And then, ooh, bishop finally has a diagonal to start being active towards the king. Wonderful, wonderful. King is being moved away from his safety zone into some dangerous positions. I guess that's why there's that saying about castling on the queen side. Once you do, always play b1 at some point. That was not done, and this is a situation that king is in now. He's somehow ended up outside his own home. This is like if you lock your... If a robber is coming to your house to attack your fortress or your home, because who lives in a fortress? And then you lock yourself outside, and now you have to fight them outside your home. Okay, so the queen moves to e2. There is some kind of idea, I think, of doing this again, which is always good. And then a bishop move to c5, opening up this potential nightmare. Also, oof, that looks like a nightmare as well. So we are under threat. Overall, let's look at the count as of now. Looks like white has 7 pawns, whereas I have 6 pawns, and 2 of them are doubled. So it's almost like I'm working in 5 pawns. White also has 2 major pieces, or 3 major pieces, whereas I only have my queen and the rook. But I do have some bishops, and if they were I mean, like, even this white squared bishop, not a lot of room of control right now, but at least it has the buddy taking care of them. But this weakness on the dark squares on my center king center that's so freaking scary right now. Even without the bishop directly here, if the whatchamacallit, if the rook were to come onto b8 right now, I don't have any goddamn flight squares. I'm very, very scared. I have one move to literally force a checkmate. Or I mean, I have one move, this move now, to start a forced pattern of some kind. And if I don't, there's checkmate immediately. So, yeah, let's find that checkmate. Let's see some options. The initial option that I think for a forced move would be bishop to d2 with a check diagonally. But that can be met very quickly with rook takes d2, defended by the king. I would wish after that to be able to play some kind of rank move, but with the queen here, that ain't gonna happen. So bishop d2 check, rook d2 takes. Doesn't look like a very good situation. I say that, but as soon as I say that, I see that that has distracted the rook from this rank, which gives me an opportunity to use my queen to go and do a near... Is it like a defended epaulettes mate kind of queen hug thing going on, right? Yeah. So let's see if there are alternatives we can take a look at. Bishop d2 check. Is there any place that the king can go or some other piece to block d2? King can't go to c4 thanks to the pawn, and king can't go to b4 because of the bishop, and it doesn't look like there's any other way to take than the rook. So after that, let's just check queen c4 again, defended by this piece again. No flight squares at all on this diagonal. No flight square here because of the rook, so that looks good. All right. Well, this is a very interesting game. I honestly thought that white had a clear advantage, which he has had for quite a lot of the game, but I think what really changed it was that queen move. That queen move to, that queen move to f1, and honestly, I was thinking, that the rook move would probably be the best way to counter this. But is it? Because after the rook move, there's still this. How do you deal with that? I kind of want to see. What is this? Is this not a thing? Oh, because this is a thing. Right. Yeah, then there's not really a thing anymore. There's just simplify a little bit more and run away with the queen. And this doesn't even look that great. What is this? That looks terrible. So, okay. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, the rook move to block, and then using the bishop to block again. And then, not only are you blocking, but you're opening up for your own mate in one. So that rook move was pretty key. And it's interesting because I've seen so many checkmate patterns where you distract the rook with either the diagonal or the file block, and then you just do this. So, in this case, the rook block actually works. Who knew? I didn't know. Did I know? No, I didn't know. I didn't know shit. Yes, let's take a look at this game. What do I think about this position? This feels... How did this queen get back here? What the fuck? Oh my gosh. This game's getting more and more interesting by the second, actually. Huh. Wow, they really saved the pawns until the late game. This is some professional shit, man. How'd they save these pawns for so long? And why in this game is the king not castled? He got the bishop being kettled and everything. What happened? What happened, man? Oh my gosh. So we start with c4. I don't even know what starting with C4 is called. I don't see it often in the games I play because I'm a noob. Uh, but okay, black starting with kind of an Indian approach here, and white is kind of playing from a hyper modern-ish standpoint. Not really, I guess. You're still controlling centers with pawns, so that's cool. That's cool. I wonder, like I'm trying to think about what the future moves here would be. Like, do you put the bishop on e3 to get this, but then you're blocking this piece, so you have to fianchetto and use up a turn, use up a tempi, and then maybe put the knight on f3 so that you can move it to d4 later, and then control some further squares. You would always have a weakness on e5 though. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Alright, so getting that other knight developed. Controlling this, that feels pretty good. So, good control of the center right now. I never thought about doing a c4 kind of play, but it ain't bad. On the other side, it feels like he's just playing King's Indian over here. And then, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be King's Indian because it could be... Well, it can't be d5, right? That seems... interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll see, depending on the pawn pushes, what kind of Indian that we would call it. I don't know any of the names. This is King's Indian-ish. That's all I know. I will be interested after this puzzle to find out what this opening actually was called, or what it transposed into. Alright, so fianchettoing that bishop, it really looks like you're going to castle, but we know in this game he never castles. What happened? Where did the objective of castling just stop? It's when he decided to move to knight d4 without any kind of defenders. Okay. What move do you have in mind after knight d4? Where are you trying to get to? b5? No. Not here. Not there. I mean, this is all controlled. What is this knight gonna do? What was the idea there? Alright. Well, I don't know what black's idea is, but alright. I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay, I thought it was gonna be a King's Indian push, but instead it turned into uh, the other one that I never remember the name for. The Grunfeld, right? Nah, I don't know. I'm making a fool of myself. I don't know names of things. That was an interesting way to trade. Oh, I forgot. You have the bishop. So, okay. Not that bad. Not that bad. Got the fear of God. Actually, how do you stop this? I guess you only way you can stop that is actually with c6. c6! Bishop goes back? No. Oh my god, was this all for that? What the fuck? But how would you have ever guessed that black would do d5, which is clearly the worst or not one of the better moves, right? Like, you already did d6. Why are you doing d5? To try and stop this? Oh, I see. I understand now. Okay. So he fianchettoed, and then black's next move is what triggered knight d4 because it opens up the diagonal. And because it opens up the diagonal, white panics and decides to do d5 instead of doing c6. But c6 would only lose you a pawn on take, this, move the rook out of the way, get that diagonal, trade the diagonals. When the king goes over here now, this is weakened, even if you don't necessarily have a diagonal bishop to help in coordination of attack. All right, but he decided to try and block on d5, but that is a mistake because white has 3 defenders or 3 attackers, just 3 pieces controlling d5, whereas black only has 2, and one of them is the queen, which is not trade-worthy. Okay. And then this second combination leads into this, and then the rook moves. White decides to go for counterplay, but I'm not sure what this counterplay is right now. What? Like, he can't even go to g2 because this bishop is ungodly right now. Is he hoping that after rook takes, queen takes, he'll have tempi to go here? But I mean, white's going to have 1 tempo to defend with a rook. And even if he gets there, the rook can still come. I guess we'll see what happens. Takes, and then closes off this diagonal for the queen. So maybe the idea was to take with the queen, and then that would have been good. That would have been good. A lot of diagonals, thanks to the fianchettos, that I never get to really see in games. So this pawn is still weak. Let's remember that. Holy God. Okay, trying to move a pawn. Trying to move a pawn to remove another pawn and get a lobster salad going. Okay, and white says, no, I like this diagonal. Please don't break it open. And black says, I'm going to sacrifice everything I have to try and break this goddamn diagonal so that I can get a queen here. And black can't really do a lot right now because this bishop is very safe on this corner. So good on black for finding that counter move. I feel like that's very, very cool. This, I don't know the reason behind. Let's continue further. Okay, this diagonal is still being controlled, but now there is a file. And doubling up could mean some pretty things in the future. This, I'm still trying to figure out. Is it for this? Is it for this? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Alright, trying to double up on the file. Getting ready to try and defend on that file. You got 3 defenders, so even with 3 attackers, that shouldn't be a problem. This bishop's never going to become relevant in that situation, unless these are broken somehow and bishop gets over here, or potentially over there. But that's there, so probably not. Okay, doubled up, looking good, looking strong. Oh, there was a castling. Wait, we're only on move 18. Holy God, this game. Alright. Well, for people who are here to watch me solve puzzles, you're going to be greatly disappointed because I'm just watching games and commenting on them at this point. But, alright. Bishop has found another home. Striking out a weakness. But I'm confused on the possibilities. I guess the other benefit to the bishop moving here is, I was going to say, I'm worried about the f2 square, because with the king gone, there was only 1 controller for that square, while black obviously had 2. But the bishop moving there controls that square, so we're looking pretty good there. And trying to continue on with the theme of what black's been trying to do is, I guess it's interesting to me because he has a strong control there. So if I was in his shoes, I would be racking my brains for further ways to try and break down whatever is on this side. But instead, what he is doing is distracting everything else here and then trying to push over here, I guess. Is that feasible? I don't know. but black just gave away a pawn. So this seems slightly less feasible. Okay. What is this? What is this? If bishop moves, then there's this. Imminent checkmate ideas. But if there's this, there's b3. Closing down this line, I guess then there's queen c3. But the king still has some flight squares. Oh no, that would be awful. That would just be checkmate. Oh no, the queen's there to defend on the second rank. So, interesting. All right, well, let's just see where this goes. Bishop goes back, maybe hoping to do this, but then you'd be losing control of that b2 square, which is going to be very dangerous. Okay. When the b2 square comes under attack, black, instead of pushing the pawn, has decided to try and hold on to it in this way. 2 attackers now, or 3 attackers now, and we have 3 defenders. Now it decides to push. Queen comes in. Rook is there to block and ask questions. Ooh, that's lovely. That is very lovely. Queen moves to the diagonal there. See, I wouldn't have seen that. Wouldn't have seen it. Nope. Maybe the better move here would have been to queen b1. Yeah. Anyway, so king moves over to the d file, or the second file. Queen takes a free rook that wasn't being used for anything. White pushes a pawn. For what? What is that for? I don't know. Queen comes back in. Maybe hoping for what? Again, I don't know. Maybe for something like this. Could have done it from here too. I don't know. Maybe something like this. Hoping for something in the future. Keeps on pushing that pawn. Okay. Oh, wow. This has become potentially forcing, but you've left a diagonal open now. So that's a thing. Black contests, or not contests, concedes the square, trying to push that pawn all the way home as quickly as possible. I was questioning White's moves, but this gambit is working out real well. Okay, but finally the black bishop's like, alright, I've had enough. Stop this bullshit. We're gonna take this pawn. And white is like, hurry, we must defend it. Maybe, I don't know. He just keeps pushing mindlessly. Opens up a file, though. Nice. Was this open before? Yes, it was. Okay. Either way, it's a check, and it looks like the king is going to have to move. So it does. And then this looks slightly better. I don't know if that's true, though, because that really forces the king to go outside his realm of comfortability. Does it anyway. Alright, another check. Okay, and the king moves his one of his last pawns on his pawn shield to block. Rook comes into play, though. And now the king is kind of stuck on the side of the board, with a lot of potential play on black's side. That being said, black also has some play on white's side. For instance, this and this, in combination with this and this, there is just a lot. There is so many ways for black to get checked right now. This, I don't know if there's any mating possibilities, but it's bad. I guess this isn't possible, because that would just be takes, but Yeah, these two look pretty strong. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. But we're playing as white in this position, and there is supposed to be a forcing mate here. But can we find it? That is always the question. So, what would the first forcing move be in this position? The only two forcing moves that I can see are queen to f3 check and rook to h6 check. Rook to h6 met with king takes h6, and then queen takes g5 and king takes g5. That's all terrible. So that's probably not the line. Uh, Rook to h6, king to h6. Can I? Nope. Can I? Nope. Nah. So I don't think it's rook to h6 check. Then let's take a look at the alternative line that I was looking at. Queen to f3 check. My first thought would be bishop to h3 or pawn to h3. Let's take a look at bishop to h3 because it doesn't move the pawn, keeping the king safe from any ranky shenanigans with rook. So queen to f3, bishop to g4, bishop to g4. Ah, but then there's queen to f7, which would then. I don't think the king has any flight squares because he put his bishop on g7. This would have been the only flight square, but the bishop is on g7, g4, I mean. So yeah, let's take a look at it again. That was pretty surprising. Queen to f3, check. Bishop to g4. Queen to f7, check. No way to block this. No flight square here because of the rook. No flight square here because of this pawn. No flight square here because of the bishop. And that looks like a checkmate. Okay, what's the alternative, though? Move here. He blocks with a pawn. Right. So let's take a look at that line. Queen to f3 check. Pawn g4. Then we have the rook stuff going on, right? I wonder if it's the rook or maybe I'm supposed to use the queen. Oh, I think I can just use a queen. So if that happens, so queen to f3 check and then g4, then there is just queen to e. Then there's queen to e5. I'm still working on knowing the names, guys. Leave me alone. Don't make fun of me. So queen to f3, pawn g4, queen f5 check. Again, this flight square is taken. This flight square is taken, obviously. No flight squares on the 6th rank. And then the queen is just num 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 num. So that's like a epaulette, suffocating epaulette, I guess, is what I'd call that. So yeah, that looks good. Let's see which one happens. Oh, another thing about queen to f4. Only possible because the pawn is blocking that bishop from being helpful at all. So that's interesting. Okay, and this is checkmate. Okay, so I know we didn't get to do a lot of chess puzzles today. We did two. Looked at two games. And I apologize for that when I call the series chess puzzles and then I only look at two chess puzzles and go through a list of mating patterns. Doesn't seem that helpful to any of you, but it's helpful to me, god damn it. But for anybody who's watched it and enjoyed it, thank you for sticking around the whole time. And yeah, I think. I mean, I love doing this. I feel like every time I do this, I get a little bit better at chess. Is that true? No. My rating in Blitz has dropped 100 points recently, but it's always waving 100. So from 13 to 14 and 14 down to 13 again. But yeah. Am I improving? I don't know. Is my mating, like tactical thinking, getting better? Maybe. Hard to say. We're just gonna keep at it though. I'll probably do another full game video very soon. I promise you. And I think doing maybe the beat your father at chess, how to beat your dad at chess on Chessable might be a fun thing. In fact, since it might be such a fun thing, let's check that out right now. Chessable.com. Did it go there? Chessable. Chessable.com. And then we go to courses. We're looking at all courses. We're looking for how to beat your dad. Beat the Alec Aiken. Maybe I should just type in dad. Dad! Papa. Was it not called this? Am I crazy? How to beat your dad at chess. Is that not what it's called? Am I crazy? How to beat your dad at gambit chess. Okay. Como ganar tu papá. Ajedrez. Ajedrez? Didn't know that's what chess was called. Now we know. Chessable. Ha! Here it is. Despite the unfortunate title. This would love to be able to get it on Chessable. I agree this collection. Aww. It's not on here, guys. Alright, well. I own the book, so I don't feel bad about finding a different way to find an interactive method. For instance, if somebody made a how to beat your dad, a study on Lichess for it, beat your dad endgames, how to beat stalemates, how to beat. Do you think this is how to beat your dad at chess? Ooh. Ooh, I think it might be. I definitely remember early on the Anastasia's mate being a thing. And I remember the Arabian mate. Okay. So this possibly maybe it, but I don't know. I think at some point we could go over it. You know, maybe I'll just open my ebook next time and do that. We could definitely look through the book. That would be a good way for me to get through a lot of books that I've been meaning to get through that I've never done because I'm a terrible human being. Oh, this is great. Can't say no to a puzzle. But yeah, maybe that might be the best thing to do. So a potential series we could do is me just going through a book while making a study on Lichess about it, so that after I get through the book, I can always come back, do some of the puzzles, and refresh myself on what I learned from the book. If that sounds like an interesting series that you guys would like to see, yeah, just note it in the comments. But the only comments I've gotten so far in the last couple of videos are spammers with weird links to what I can only imagine are porn sites, but they're always like VOR dot whatever, which, like, are they into vor? I don't know. And if you don't know what vor is, don't get into it. You're happy or not knowing. But yeah, I guess as a closing thing, thanks to everybody for watching. I gotta go play some games and enjoy the weekend. And yes, I will do another video very soon. I don't know what it's gonna be on, but I hope you stick around. I'll see you later. Now, fuck off. I'm just kidding. Thank you.